Mirandasya Jnananjana Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamahyam Dadati Swapadantikam. Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yuta Padakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sagana Raghunathanvitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadhutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sagana Lalita Shri Vishakhanvitamscha. He Krishna Karuna Sindho Dinabandho Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namastate Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanusute Devi Pranamami Haripriye Vancha Kalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhyev cha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. Nama Om Vishnupadaya Krishna Prishtaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swamin Iti Namine Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvisesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Srivastadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Narayanam Namaskritya Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayam Udirayet Shushrusho Shraddadhanasya Vasudeva Kadharuchi Syan Mahatsevaya Vipra Punyatirtha Nishevanat Shinvatam Swakadha Krishna Punyashravana Kirtana Hridyantasto hi bhadrani vidunoti suhritsatam Nashtaprayeshu abhadreshu nityam bhagavata sevaya Bhagavati uttama shloke bhaktir bhavati naishtiki Tadharajastamo bhava kamalo bhadayaschaye Cheta etair anavidham sthitam sattve prasidati Evam prasanna manaso bhagavad bhakti yogataha Bhagavat tattva vijnanam mukta sangasya jayate Vidyate hridaya grandhischityante sarva samshaya Kshiyante chasya karmani drishta evatmanishware. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Krishna devotees, thank you for joining this morning Srimad Bhagavatam discussion. We are continuing our Srimad Bhagavatam discussions in Canto 3, Chapter 10. The title is Divisions of Creation. We are doing text 12 today. Vishwam vai brahma tanmatram samsthitam Vishnu mayaya Ishwarena parichinnam kalena vyaktamurtina. Vishwam vai brahma tanmatram samsthitam Vishnu mayaya Ishwarena parichinnam kalena vyaktamurtina. Word meaning. Vishwam, the material phenomenon. Why? Certainly. Brahma, the supreme. Tatmatram, the same as. Samsthitam, situated. Vishnu mayaya, by the energy of Vishnu. Ishwarena, by the personality of Godhead. Parichinnam, separated. Kalena, by the eternal time. Avyakta, unmanifested. Murtina, by such a feature. A translation and purport by His Divine Grace HG Amrita-keli Swami Srila Prabhupada ki jai. This cosmic manifestation is separated from the Supreme Lord as material energy by means of Kala, which is the unmanifested, impersonal feature of the Lord. It is situated as the objective manifestation of the Lord under the influence of same material energy of Vishnu. Purport. As stated previously by Narada before Vyasadeva in Srimad Bhagavatam 1.5.20, Idam hi Vishwam Bhagavan Ivetara. This manifested world is the self-same personality of Godhead, but it appears to be something else beyond or besides the Lord. It appears so because of its being separated from the Lord by means of Kala. It is something like the tape-recorded voice of a person who is now separated from the voice. As the tape recording is situated on the tape, so the whole cosmic manifestation is situated on the material energy and appears separate from by means of Kala. The material manifestation is therefore the objective manifestation of the Supreme Lord and exhibits his impersonal feature so much adored by the impersonalist philosophers. We'll just see the connection to this word. Just go to the chapter 10. So Maitreya started explaining the creation, and then Vidura again asked these questions. Please explain to me how Brahma, the grandfather of the planetary inhabitants, created the bodies of the living entities from his own body and mind after the disappearance of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So Lord Brahma prays, and then the Lord appears and he gives him the knowledge, and then Lord Brahma starts the creation. So Vidura is asking, how did he do that, and what's the whole procedure? And then Maitreya started explaining from text 4 onwards. Sudha Goswami says, Maitreya in text 3, Maitreya Muni was so happy and enlivened with the questions of Vidura that he started answering. And then as he started speaking, in text 4, 5, and 6, continues until 8, no, actually 9. Then Vidura asked, O my Lord, O greatly learned sage, kindly describe eternal time, which is another form of the Supreme Lord, the wonderful actor. What are the symptoms of that eternal time? Please describe them to us in detail. So, as the creation is happening, Vidura is prompting Maitreya to speak on the eternal time, which is the essential factor behind the creation. And then Maitreya started speaking. Yesterday, Jagdananda Prabhu very nicely explained how this is the core and how this is the representation of the Lord. And by our understanding is actually difficult. Prabhu was saying we have to read this purport of 11, maybe hundreds of times in order to understand. And I was thinking if Jagdan Prabhu is saying like that, how about people like me? Just this seems like so technical, and I'm like, okay, this is beyond me. Plus, I'm not really in a great mood or space, like, really be able to connect or share. But as I was just looking through this purport, this thing struck me. Seeing the connection of the Lord, yesterday Prabhu was explaining, and even at the end of the session, Varshana Mataji is sharing that Samanda Gyan, be able to see the connection of time with the Lord. And that is one thing really was striking, because we hear that, how is Lord present with us in this moment? We say in his deity form, or Bhagavatam, or the holy name, or the devotee association, or the service, or so many other things, so called so many blessings in our life. But we don't really see the time itself as a form of the Lord. So that's what actually Maitreya started explaining here. It works as the instrument of the Supreme Personality of Godhead for his pastimes in the material creation. And he explains how this is the primeval source of the interactions of the three modes of material nature. It is unchangeable and limitless. So it's not like there is at one point the kala or the time appears. Krishna says, okay, now I need to track my time and activities, so let me create time. No, it is eternal. It's going on irrespective of, the creation, maintenance, and dissolution, but the time factor is constant. And I was hearing this class by His Holiness Rumpa Swami Maharaj. He explained like really amazing. So much was like going beyond me, very technical aspects. But the way Maharaj is explaining is, one can explain only if one really understands it thoroughly. I can share in the group if anyone is interested to understand this intricate subject matter of time. But Maharaj was mentioning in Bhagavad Gita in introduction, and Prabhupada explains there are 5 topics of Bhagavad Gita: Ishvara, Jiva, Prakriti, Kala, and Karma. And Kala is the one which is actually, in a sense, relating everything, like from Ishvara to Jiva, and how the Prakriti manifests, unmanifests, and how the time actually sets things in motion and thus leads to karma or activities. But very interestingly, there is not much explanation in Bhagavad Gita. Krishna speaks, I think, only 3 places. One, he says, Kalosmi, like time I am, and the destroyer of all. And then in 10th chapter, while talking about the opulences, he says, I'm the time, the greatest subduer. In actually 10:30 and 10:33, 2 places, he says, the inexhaustible time and the subduer and the destroyer of everything. That's all is given for one of the, the core topics of Bhagavad Gita. But in Srimad Bhagavatam, in comparison, it goes into much more deeper. There are many places the aspect of time is being given, and this is definitely one section where it's being given in one sense in detail, of course, thanks to Srila Prabhupada's purports. He's talking about this aspect of time, how crucial it is for this whole entire creation. And one thing that was striking for me from this 1520 that Prabhupada is quoting in this verse, Idam hi Vishwam Bhagavan Ivetara. It says this cosmic manifestation is none other than the Supreme Lord Himself. And Prabhupada says here, I think in the word to word, the same as, self same, something like that. Yeah, maybe in the previous one. Yeah, it's not different from the Lord. And if we understand that about the world around us, about the time, about ourselves, if we can see that it's not only the energy of the Lord that's acting, but it's actually non-different from the Lord. Not just theoretically, but in a very deep sense, if we understand the way we utilize, the way we act is going to be totally different. If we take the example of, like spiritual master is there, and in his presence, how we hear verses, we know like it's Maharaj's instruction or Maharaj's energy, or we won't have the same kind of intensity of that attention if we just consider, yeah, it's okay. Yeah, it's Maharaj's recording, but that's okay. But if we factually understand there is no difference between him speaking in person and him speaking, through either this live or the past recorded lectures, if we understand the true potency, the way we hear, the way, the attention and the way we take them to the heart is going to be totally different. We can see, I was so amazed by some of the devotees, the way they hear, even if the topics they would have heard, like, I mean, who are practicing for like 15, 20 years, even if the subject seems to be 101 and Maharaj is like whoever are spiritual masters, they're speaking again on that. There is no aspect of, yeah, this is all the same, I have heard. But they're actually seeing the true potency, the instruction being non-separated from the spiritual master, and the potency of the sound vibration coming from the spiritual master, how much powerful it is, how much purifying it is. So when we see in that connection, this time energy also, our perspective towards that is going to be totally different. And obviously, that will lead us to utilizing that in a very, favorable or beneficial way. We won't like, callously gamble with our time the way, most of the time I do that, thinking, oh, we have eternal time. But we realize oftentimes how it's acting beyond our capacity. It's just like, it's totally out of control. And I just remember this particular section. One second. Yeah, this particular section from Canto 1, Chapter 9, Bhishmadeva's instructions. In that, he has this beautiful descriptions of time while Yudhishthira Maharaj is lamenting about this whole thing. And Krishna actually tries to console Yudhishthira, but apparently he wasn't able to. Then Bhishmadev actually speaks this, I think text 13, no, text 14. Yeah. Sarvam kalakritam manye. In my opinion, this is all due to inevitable time, under whose control everyone in every planet is carried, just as the clouds are carried by the wind. So Prabhupada writes in this purport, there is control by time all over the space within the universe, as there is control by time all over the planets. All the big gigantic planets, including the sun, are being controlled by the force of air, as the clouds are carried by the force of air. Similarly, the inevitable kala or time, sorry, or time. Similarly, the inevitable kala or time controls even the action of the air and other elements. Everything, therefore, is controlled by the supreme kala, a forceful representative of the Lord within the material world. And then the last line says, even the great controller of the universe, Brahmaji, is also under the control of that time. Therefore, one should not grudge being thus controlled by time, despite being a true follower of religious principles. This is an amazing way to understand the time and the activities and how we need to act, whether we feel we are controllers of, what we can do, or we see the time controlling us. And then he says in the next verse also, oh, how wonderful is the influence of inevitable time. It's irreversible. Otherwise, how can there be reverses in the presence of King Yudhishthira, the son of the demigod controlling religion, Bhima, the great fighter with his club, the great bowman Arjuna with his mighty weapon Gandiva, and above all, the Lord, the direct well-wisher of the Pandavas. So Prabhupada explains, just the last sentence was really applicable to this particular discussion today. Kala is identical with the Lord himself, and therefore the influence of Kala indicates the inexplicable wish of the Lord himself. There is nothing to be lamented when a matter is beyond the controller of any human being. These two verses, though the first time when I heard, it was like, really hard to accept that I have to be submissive or surrendered to the time. But hearing them again and again, referring to them through the times of difficulties, it has helped to see that this time is not different from the Lord. And when we understand that Krishna's hand is behind, through all this, in addition to understanding that Krishna is our well-wisher, he is our best friend, then we can, come out of that grudge Prabhupada is talking about. We shouldn't be grudging when we have to go through this kind of time factor. And then, in spite of the externalities, our perspective and our actions and reactions to the situations would significantly be different. And Prabhupada is giving this nice analogy here, how we can understand this being same and separated. He gives this example many times. Prabhupada is speaking, and we have all this tape recorded, his voice. Most of us haven't had the fortune to see or hear from Srila Prabhupada in person, but we have these recordings and the videos thanks to the devotees. And when we see that, we actually feel being in presence of Prabhupada. If we close our eyes and hear with really, from the heart, like really giving all our attention, we actually see that Prabhupada is sitting in front of us and speaking to us. How is it possible? Because Prabhupada's voice is non-different from Prabhupada in that sense. But can we say, if we are, have a tape, can we say, oh, Prabhupada is here? No, he is not physically here. But so in that way, it's the same and different simultaneously. The same as we understand this creation, Krishna says this in Bhagavad Gita 9th chapter. It's not easy to understand. In one sense, it feels like, oh, I understood. But then it goes beyond. He says, this is all within me, but I'm not in them. This is all situated in me, but I'm not touched by the material creation. So this is one way we can understand with this analogy. It is the representation. It is the Lord's energy, but the Lord has a separate existence other than this. We cannot say there is nothing beyond time in the existence of the Supreme Lord. That's not true. But there is no existence of Kala without the Supreme Lord. So in that sense, simultaneously same and different. As the tape recording is situated on the tape, so the whole cosmic manifestation is situated on the material energy and appears separate by means of Kala. The material manifestation is therefore the objective manifestation of the Supreme Lord and exhibits his impersonal feature, so much adored by impersonalist philosophers. So to conclude, my reflections or inspiration from this verse is to see the time as non-different from the Lord, and thus being able to see the activities of the time that, either set in motion either by our past actions or which may be beyond our purview of actions or our control, see the Lord's hand behind and see that it's actually moving under the control of Lord's energy. And thus, in every moment, in every situation, see how I can make use of this situation or this particular, circumstances, how I can uh, change my, course. Jagdan Prabhu was explaining yesterday about this. Time actually moves the same for the devotees and non-devotees, but what we do in that time actually decides what we are up for the future, both in this lifetime and in the next lifetime. So when we see this connection, this Sambandha Gyan, it can actually help us to act in that relationship, and thus, uh, whether we totally understand the technicalities of the time or the creation, how this all operate, as long as this knowledge of creation and this topic, if they're helping us to move closer to the Lord, then that's wonderful. And that's what actually, the intention of Vidura behind asking all these questions and Maitreya taking time to explain all this. And, canto after canto, they have been discussing these aspects of creation in again and again. So, yeah, we can conclude that the translation is this cosmic manifestation is separated from the Supreme Lord as material energy by means of Kala, which is the unmanifested impersonal feature of the Lord. It is situated as the objective manifestation of the Lord under the influence of the same material energy of Vishnu. If any of you have any thoughts or reflections, corrections, please go ahead. Thank you so much for joining, patiently hearing. Krishna.
Hare Krishna Mataji. Thank you so much for a short class. So I was just thinking, yesterday's verse and today's verse, the purports. So time is the one thing that is running this whole material creation. Through that Lord is running through the whole material creation. And it is one of the scariest things, right, for a person to, of course, people doesn't, uh, what do you call, doesn't think about it, but yeah, when you think about it, time is the most scary thing, right, in this world. So because that is what makes us, makes things get destroyed and separate and all. So but time is one thing again. I'm just remembering from the second canto, right, the verse. So time is one thing that is helping a devotee actually to get closer to the Lord. So yeah, so as you are saying, I think we don't want to grudge on the time, and because this is the energy of the Lord and that is what running this whole material creation. But if we use that time properly and in the service of the Lord, and then it is going to be one of the good things for a person, right? So time is the one thing that makes us closer to the Lord also. In that sense. So I was just thinking about Mataji, yeah, instead of grudging the time, yeah, making us things like this, and it's also, if one uses that time in the service of the Lord, so it is helping us to get closer to the Lord. So
Yes, Prabhu, but it's not easy.
yeah, no, that thought came, yeah.
It's not easy at all. I mean, first time I have heard like I have had this difficulty whenever the apparent reverses come in devotee's life. It's not easy, and I was actually going through something, and I was like not at all in a mood to or space to be able to share anything. In fact, last night before sleeping, I thought I'll just send a text to you saying, Prabhu, I can't do this. Maybe we can play Prabhupada's class or, Maharaj's class or something. But then I said, okay, let me actually see what Prabhupada is saying in this purport, and I just tried to read through. And I was just thinking about it, and I remember this Bhishma Dev's thing, and actually, I was thinking about Harida Mataji was sharing how Srimad Bhagavatam is a solution to all the problems, and I'm tangibly feeling that right now as my heart and gone through some hard time. Bhagavatam and this particular section, how the influence of time takes us through, sometimes I may be fully enthusiastic and sometimes material energy throws me and I don't have any enthusiasm at all. If any of you felt that in my voice today. But nevertheless, connecting to Bhagavatam and connecting to these devotees, it's very transformative. As you're saying, the same time I could be spending either grudging or like, why this has to happen this way, that way, whatever, or like, kind of questioning or blaming somebody else or whatever, or really accepting the plan of the Lord and the inevitability of the time aspect, and see how I can turn to Krishna in this situation and how I can really understand the futility of the material world. So that was, very powerful and transformative for me. So thanks to the service, otherwise, it might have taken much more time for me to process and go through this whole thing. Thank you so much. Yeah.
I mean,
The
we can just
technical
go
or
against that.
philosophical.
I mean, we are so tiny. I mean, we cannot even. I mean, when something happens. So I mean, I was just thinking. So when things happen, when my wife says some things happens, yeah, what to do? I mean, we can't anyway control those. So it is going to be. We can't go against them. It will be hard, but yeah. So we are so tiny. I mean, as we hear in the Bhagavatam, right? I mean, Bhagavad Gita, we
Yes,
are so tiny, and we can't go against the time. The will of the
yes,
Lord. So it is going to happen anyway. So I was just thinking when you are saying. So, but yeah, instead of that, using the other side, I know it's not easy, but I'm just telling theoretically. So
yes, Prabhu. Thank you.
Hare Krishna, and then with Pranam Mataji, thank you for the wonderful class. I was remembering that in the Bhagavatam, in one place, planets are also called embodied beings. So like planets are also persons, like we have Bhumi, right? The earth. So there's a soul in the earth and her body is this earth. So every planet is that. And it describes there how these planets, they revolve around the North Star, Dhruv Tara, like a wheel. And these planets are like little ants on this wheel. And when this wheel of time turns, then it crushes these planets, like it crushes the ants, like a wheel crushes the ants on there. So I was just thinking that how amazing this time is, and how big it is. Like like these planets are being crushed like ants, and we are like little ants on these planets. And how massive, amazing this time is, like a ladle, stirring everything up. So yeah, that's just what a small comment, I guess.
Wow. Thank you, Prabhu. Thank you for sharing. I mean, if the whole planet is like an ant and being crushed, I mean, what to speak of us? Yeah, it's so amazing. And I was also thinking, this really inspired me to see the sequences in our own life. Though, eternal time, it doesn't matter, but even in our own lifetime, what I may be seeing like a big, huge thing, with time, it actually, becomes so small, and we would be learning whatever we would be learning, and then we'll move on. It's, yeah, such powerful time. Yeah. Amazing.
Yeah.
Hare Krishna Mataji, please accept my humble obeisances. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. I'm sorry, I'm in a place where you may be hearing some noise, but I
No
couldn't
problem.
resist. So this is a difficult topic. it's not easy to digest or even easy to enunciate and help others understand. But you did an excellent job doing that. I was just thinking, how difficult it is to, and like as living beings or embodied, at least, like time, we don't recognize time until we come to a particular age. Otherwise, when we are young, particularly, babies, they don't even worry about time. Children are like, why do you bother me about time? It's only when we come of age that we start thinking of time and trying to make use of time. And then we realize time is driving everything. It's like the centripetal force that holds the planets together around the sun. We don't feel the force, but it's there. And it's so difficult. But how do we make use of time? There are so many aspects that time covers. By its very definition, it comes with so many other aspects. One of them is, like we have a sankalpa for each one of these movements. I think we can transform the use of time, make use of it in a better way. So just my thoughts. I'll leave it there, Mataji.
Yes, Prabhu, thank you. Yeah, I think in yesterday's purport, Prabhupada writes, of course, we all know time and tide waits for none. Prabhupada writes, even if we give millions of dollars, we cannot get this moment back. And, we think so many times, oh, I wish there is an undo button in life, but sorry, the time has moved. And, it's so true. Even as devotees, I feel even in the name of devotional service, we just keep, just running through without realizing, as you brought up that point of sankalpa, if that is not there, years and years will pass. And I'm like, was wondering the other day, it's like, next year we'll complete 10 years in devotional service. Like, Amrita-keli, what did you do? Like, I don't see much of transformation. I'm not saying there is nothing at all, but like unless that purposeful execution and that kind of a sankalpa is there, it's very hard. We may be chanting, we may be hearing, yes, it's working, but unless that focused, that purposeful, and the sankalpa that you brought, we may say, oh, I have been practicing devotion service for decades and decades. But that focus is really going to bring that aspect of, deeper connection to Krishna. And as Prabhupada promised, we have to do our endeavor too, to, for his promise to be really fulfilled, to make it this lifetime itself. We don't want to come back and, go through this effects of time again and again.
Yeah. The thing about time is, like I said, it's difficult subject because, what is spiritual about it other than the fact that it is coming from the Lord, part and parcel or a separated energy, whatever we want to call it. There's really nothing that makes it, like either spiritual or non-spiritual. It's neutral. Correct? It's very neutral, and whatever we do is what decides what happens to us. And that is where the difficulty is. Unlike other things, if devotional service is completely, we can't say devotional service is neutral. It is completely biased for Krishna. So time is one thing which is, yeah, if you don't have the guidance of pure devotees, spiritual masters, and others, it'll be lost.
Yeah. Thank you, Prabhu. Thank you so much. Any other comments? I don't know what's the time. Okay, 8:11. Maybe one more we can take. Anyone has?
I was just thinking that first sentence of the translation, this cosmic manifestation is separated from the Supreme Lord as material energy by means of Kala, which is the unmanifested impersonal feature of the Lord. So, in a sense, the time is actually separating the material energy from the Lord. So, the way it is, I'm seeing it, I'm just thinking loud, because originally the way if you see all the material energy, right, in the form of pradhana, it's almost very close to the Lord, even though it is different from the Lord, but it is actually in a sense very close to the Lord. Even you can see Mahavishnu, all the universes are within him, then at some point they come out, right? So similarly, Garbhodakashayi Vishnu also, when the next day of Brahma, probably all the matter, all the planet systems unfold and kind of situated in him. Then at some particular point when he glances with his time, right? When he glances uh, the time. His glance itself is a time actually. It's like a pradhana is like a stable form of matter, and when this time goes and hits the matter along with the living entities and their karma, then it disturbs the pradhana, and from there the transformation happens. So I'm seeing in that sense, literally this first, we'll read this first sentence again with that as a background. This cosmic manifestation is separated from the Supreme Lord as material energy by means of Kala, which is the unmanifested impersonal feature of it. The Kala is literally is actually shaking the Pradhana to become Mahatattva and further transformations, which becomes kind of farther and farther away from the Lord, because originally everything situated in the Lord, then it comes out of the Lord's unmanifested to manifested state. It becomes universal form eventually. So in that sense, the analogy they say, right, the Big Bang, the time is the one which causes the bang in the Big Bang in the pradhana, right? It disturbs the pradhana with that Big Bang, and then further creation unfolds. So,
Yeah, thank you, Prabhu. Thank you for bringing that. In fact, the class was hearing His Holiness Ram Swami Maharaj. He was describing this. This time is the factor which makes it appear as different. And as you have explained, it's literally getting separated, even the jivas for that matter. So Maharaj is saying that is the one which is actually putting us into illusion, thinking that I'm separate from the Lord and, I can control things and whatnot. That's very powerful. And before certain time, that was not the case. And after certain time, it won't be the case. But actually, as you were describing, it was giving me so much hope in the sense that it's only this certain time that's separating me from the Lord. I am meant to be with Him and I am going back to Him. How much time it takes? It depends on our endeavor and Krishna's mercy, as we understand. But just that aspect of this time is separating me from the Lord. I have this relationship and I'm going to go back to Him. It's just so hope giving. As you were sharing, I was thinking about it. Thank you. Thank you so much. All right, we can stop here. Thank you so much for joining again and for all your participation. You all have a very wonderful Krishna conscious day ahead. Be able to see. We can pray that Krishna and Srimad Bhagavatam help us to see the time energy as Krishna himself and how we can act and connect to the Lord from moment to moment with that intention, sankalpa, not only today, but for all the days to come. Thank you so much. Chakalparubhyascha kripa sindhubhyev cha patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namah. Grandhara Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai. Srila Prabhupada ki jai.
Ki jai.
Ananta Koti Vaishnava Vrinda ki jai. Hare
Jai.
Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Mataji.